The Aurelius spire floated in perfect stillness, a cathedral of alloy and light wrapped around a dying blue star. Its vast observation hall curved like the inside of a crown, tier upon tier of delegates seated according to rank, power, and fear. Thousands of species watched from their designated elevations, colors and forms blending into a living mural of submission. This chamber had witnessed the fall of civilizations with nothing more than words spoken from its central dais. At the lowest diplomatic tier stood the human delegation. They were few, quiet, unadorned. No ceremonial armor. No glowing sigils. No intimidating biodisplays. Just dark formal attire, soft lights reflecting off calm faces. Earth had been assigned this place deliberately, close enough to be seen, low enough to be dismissed. Elena Ward stood at the front. She kept her hands folded loosely behind her back, posture relaxed, gaze steady. 41 years old, born under a sky that once burned during an accidental containment strike. She had learned early that fear was a luxury. Around her, alien eyes lingered with mild curiosity, the way one might observe a species already catalogued and concluded. Whispers moved across the chamber. Short lifespan. Emotionally unstable. Predictable. Non-threatening. The words weren't spoken aloud, not directly. They were transmitted through subspace murmurs and body language refined over millennia. Elena understood them anyway. Humans had become fluent in being underestimated. The chamber lights dimmed. A deep harmonic tone rolled through the spire, vibrating through bone and metal alike. Conversations died instantly. Even species without auditory organs felt the command in their nervous systems. High Executive Vale Korath entered. He emerged from a vertical aperture of light at the apex of the dais, towering, armored in living obsidian plates traced with imperial gold. His 4 eyes glowed with bioluminescent authority, and every step he took was synchronized with the spire itself, as if the station breathed for him. Fear followed him like gravity. Vale Korath paused at the center, surveying the assembly with practiced boredom. This was not his first declaration. It would not be his last. Representatives of the Galactic Empire. His voice resonated, layered and amplified. You are convened under Article Primus to witness corrective action. A ripple of anticipation spread. Some delegates leaned forward. Others shrank back. Corrective action meant only one thing. Vale Korath's gaze dropped, intentionally slow, until it settled on the human delegation. Elena Ward, he said, tasting the name like a foreign contaminant. Ambassador of Earth. Elena inclined her head slightly. High Executor. No tremor. No hesitation. Vale Korath's upper mandibles flexed, a gesture that passed for a smile among his kind. For 14 cycles, he continued, your species has benefited from imperial tolerance. You were granted compact membership despite inadequate military capacity, volatile governance history, and emotional unpredictability. Soft ripples of amusement followed. Elena did not react. You were instructed to limit fleet expansion, Vale Korath said. To submit navigational data. To accept imperial oversight. He raised a clawed appendage. A holographic projection bloomed above the dais, Earth's solar system, glowing and fragile. You did not. His voice sharpened. You concealed installations. You delayed inspections. You questioned authority. Elena met his gaze, unblinking. Vale Korath straightened, his full height casting a shadow across the lower tiers. Therefore, he declared, under Imperial Mandate 17, the Galactic Empire formally declares war on the United Terran Assembly. The word war echoed, translated into thousands of languages simultaneously. Some species flinched. Others exhaled in relief that it was not them. Vale Korath continued without pause. Effective immediately, Earth is to surrender all orbital defenses, submit population registries for oversight, and permit imperial occupation of Sol system infrastructure. The projection shifted. Human fleets were highlighted, small, scattered, laughably insufficient. Compliance will result in preservation, he said. Resistance will result in erasure. Silence followed. This was the moment the Empire expected collapse. Raised voices. Emotional pleas. Appeals to morality or mercy. Instead, Elena smiled. It was subtle. Barely there. A small curve at the corner of her mouth. But it landed like a fracture in reality. A murmur swept the chamber, confused and sharp. Vale Koritha's eyes narrowed. Elena took a breath, steady and controlled. Her heart rate remained even. She had practiced this moment in simulation rooms, in underground chambers, in silence after sleepless nights. Still, the weight of it pressed against her ribs. She stepped forward once. "High Executor," she said, her voice clear, unamplified yet carrying. "On behalf of Earth, I acknowledge receipt of your declaration." The formality unsettled several delegates. Acknowledgement was not surrender. Vale Korith leaned forward slightly. "You understand what has been declared?" "I do," Elena replied. "Then you understand the consequences?" "Yes." A pause stretched. Elena lifted her gaze, sweeping the chamber, not in defiance, but in assessment. She saw fear. Curiosity. Long-buried hope flickering in the eyes of client species who had forgotten what resistance looked like. Then she returned her attention to Vale Korith. "Then," she said calmly, "we are exactly where we hope to be." The chamber erupted, not in noise, but in chaotic reaction. Data spikes flared. Translators lagged. Several delegates spoke at once, disbelief bleeding through protocol. Vale Korith straightened sharply. "What did you say?" he demanded. Elena did not repeat herself. Behind her, one of the human aides received a silent confirmation ping. Green. Across distances measured in light years, systems woke from dormancy. Elena felt it, not as triumph, not as joy, but as inevitability settling into place. The Empire had spoken. And humanity had been waiting for that exact sentence. The chamber did not erupt into chaos. It fractured into something colder. Voices rose across translation bands, clipped and overlapping, not panic but calculation. Delegates leaned toward one another, eyes narrowing, mandibles flexing, frills tightening. Confusion moved faster than fear. That alone was dangerous. High Executor Vale Korith raised a single claw. Silence fell immediately. His 4 eyes fixed on Elena Ward with a sharpened focus that had not been there moments earlier. "You acknowledge a declaration of war," he said slowly, "and respond with hope." Elena did not shift her stance. "Not hope," she replied. "Preparation." A ripple passed through the lower tiers. Several client species stiffened. Others leaned forward, hungry for meaning. Vale Kortha's mandibles clicked once, irritated. "You mistake inevitability for readiness, Ambassador." "Do I?" Elena asked softly. She could feel it now, subtle confirmations threading through her neural implant. Secure channels opening. Timers aligning. Nothing dramatic. Nothing visible. That was the point. Vale Korith gestured, and a semicircle of Imperial adjudicators illuminated behind him. "Earth has been granted a procedural response window," he said. "You may speak. Clarify. Beg, if that is your intention." A few delegates emitted sounds that translated loosely as amusement. Elena exhaled once. Then she spoke. "Humanity understands the Empire's position," she said. "We understand hierarchy. Control. Fear as governance. We studied it carefully." Vale Korith tilted his head. "Studied?" "Yes," Elena said. "While you studied us." She tapped the slim data slate at her wrist. A projection bloomed, not a fleet, not a weapon, but text. Dense. Legal. Ancient. "Elena Ward," Vale Korith snapped. "This is not the time for compact theory." "It is precisely the time," she replied. She highlighted a passage. "Article 9 of the Galactic Compact. Defensive Autonomy Clause." The adjudicators flickered. A few Imperial aides shifted uneasily. Vale Korith waved a claw dismissively. That clause applies to pre-imperial signatories with established deterrence, and to any member denied parity access to imperial defense structures, Elena said, her voice steady. Which Earth was? A pause. Veilcorth glanced, just briefly, toward one of his advisors. The advisor hesitated before nodding once. Elena continued. For 14 years, Earth complied with limitations. We submitted fleet caps. We restricted jump corridors. We allowed inspections that arrived late and left early. Her tone sharpened, only slightly. In return, we were excluded from shared defense intelligence. That exclusion triggered autonomous provisions. Veilcorth's eyes narrowed. You are suggesting. I am stating, Elena said, that Earth has operated under conditional sovereignty. Legally. Transparently. One of the lower-tier delegates whispered. They buried it in the footnotes. Veilcorth straightened. Legal maneuvering will not save your world. No, Elena agreed. It never does. Preparation does. For the first time, Veilcorth's confidence wavered, not visibly, but in the micro-delays of his response. You are a soft species, he said. Short-lived. Divided. You react emotionally. Your history is conflict with yourselves. Elena nodded. That was once true. Her gaze drifted briefly to the vast stars beyond the spire's transparent arc. Memory surfaced, not as sentiment, but as data. She remembered the sky over Jakarta turning white. The official report had called it a navigation error. An Imperial patrol misjudging atmospheric drag. 3 million dead. No apology. Just a reclassification of Earth's airspace. She remembered the emergency summit that followed. Borders dissolved in a single week. Political enemies shared tables. Militaries shared codes. Humanity had not become united out of idealism. They had united out of necessity. Elena Ward, Veilcorth said sharply, pulling her back. You will answer directly. Will Earth surrender? No, she said. The word carried. Clean. Final. A sharp intake of breath rippled through several species. Veilcorth's claws flexed. Then Earth will burn. Elena met his gaze. You already declared that outcome inevitable, she said. We simply planned for it. Behind Veilcorth, an Imperial aide leaned close, whispering urgently. Veilcorth flicked his eyes toward him, irritation flaring. What is it? He demanded. Minor synchronization delays in outer command relays, the aide said carefully. Likely unrelated. Veilcorth dismissed him with a sharp gesture and turned back to Elena. You rely on coincidence now? Elena did not smile this time. No. She lifted her wrist and pressed a recessed contact. High Executor, she said. Earth formally accepts the state of war under compact definitions. The chamber's lights dimmed, just a fraction. Enough to be noticed. A low hum rippled through the spire, almost imperceptible, like a structure adjusting its balance. Several delegates shifted uneasily. Veilcorth frowned. Explain that response. In compact law, Elena said, acknowledgement initiates mutual activation rights. Activation of what? Elena paused. Not for effect. For confirmation. Green across every channel. Defensive measures, she said. The hum deepened. A status glyph flickered near the dais and vanished. One of the adjudicators stiffened. High Executor, another aide whispered, less controlled now. We are receiving delayed telemetry from 3 border sectors. Veilcorth snapped. Delayed how? Out of sequence, the aide replied. As if. Elena spoke before he could finish. As if someone anticipated your response times. Veilcorth's eyes burned. You presume much. I know exactly how long it takes your fleets to mobilize, Elena said. You taught us. A murmur of unease rolled through the chamber, heavier now. Veilcorth raised his voice. This proceeding is adjourned. Earth will be. The lights flickered again. This time, longer. A data stream burst across the central holofield. Static. Fragmented alerts. Then silence. Veilcorith froze. Elena lowered her hand. "This is not escalation," she said quietly. "It is alignment." She took one measured step back, rejoining her delegation. "Humanity did not come here to threaten," Elena added. "We came to confirm." Veilcorith stared at her, something unfamiliar tightening his posture. For the first time since entering the chamber, he did not speak. And across the Aurelius spire, something ancient and unchallenged began to slip, just slightly, out of control. The first scream came from an Imperial relay station 3 sectors away, translated into the Aurelius spire as a priority loss alert. It was brief, clipped, and drowned almost instantly beneath cascading system warnings. Data flooded the chamber's hollow field in fractured bursts, then collapsed into static. High Executive Veilcorith did not move. Around him, aides scrambled, claws dancing over control glyphs that refused to respond. The adjudicator's platforms flickered between power states, their ceremonial calm dissolving into sharp, efficient panic. "Report," Veilcorith ordered. No one answered immediately. Elena Ward watched the chamber react the way she had seen it in simulations: disbelief first, then denial, then a frantic search for familiar patterns. The Empire excelled at overwhelming force. It did not adapt well when force was removed from the equation. A junior aide finally spoke, voice tight. "Outer defense grid in Sector Kappa is non-responsive. Command uplinks are intact, but execution chains are locked." "Locked by whom?" Veilcorith demanded. The aide hesitated. "Unknown authority." Elena stepped forward again, unhurried. "By the compact," she said. Veilcorith turned on her, rage sharp enough to crack restraint. "You do not command Imperial systems." "No," Elena agreed. "But the compact does. And you allowed us to wire ourselves into its definitions." She gestured toward the hollow field. 14 years ago, Earth proposed standardized compliance verification protocols. You approved them to monitor us." Her voice hardened. "You never asked why we insisted they be mutual." A senior adjudicator interjected, mandibles trembling. "High Executor, she's correct. Those protocols interface with arbitration logic. If Earth is formally at war, compact safeguards restrict unilateral action," Elena finished. "Especially against signatories without prior condemnation." Veilcorith's eyes flared. "This is sabotage. This is law," Elena replied. "You taught us to respect it." Another alert cut through the chamber, this one visual. A star map bloomed, sectors pulsing amber. Then red. Then going dark. "Border Outpost 12 has gone silent," an aide reported. "No energy spike. No debris." Elena closed her eyes briefly, acknowledging the confirmation thread. The first human task group had arrived exactly on schedule. "What have you done?" Veilcorith demanded. Elena met his gaze. "We decoupled your command." The words landed with weight. Several delegates shifted, sensing the scale of what was unfolding. "You built your empire on centralized authority," Elena continued. "One chain. One will. One voice." She raised her hand, fingers spread. "Humanity never trusted singular failure points." The hollow field shifted again. New symbols appeared, sleek, unfamiliar signatures slipping into view from vectors that should not exist. Human vessels, but not as the Empire remembered them. No massive dreadnoughts. No planet crackers. Just compact forms moving with unsettling precision. "They are inside restricted corridors," an aide whispered. "That space is uncharted." "It was," Elena said. Veilcorith's voice dropped to a growl. "You hid fleets." "We hid infrastructure," Elena corrected. "Fleets are easy to track. We built shipyards that looked like debris fields. Power stations disguised as radiation scars. Civilian transports with military cores." Her tone remained calm, almost instructional. "You limited our tonnage. Not our creativity." A distant explosion rippled across the hollow field, contained, surgical. An Imperial command node winked out, replaced by a steady blue marker. What is that symbol? A delegate asked. Protected, Elena said. Non-combatants evacuated. System stabilized. Veilchorus stared at the map, disbelief bleeding into something colder. You are dismantling us. No, Elena replied. We are freezing you. Another report arrived. High Executor, client species in Sector Rho are refusing Imperial directives. Human vessels are broadcasting security guarantees. Several delegates gasped. Others straightened, hope flashing unbidden across alien faces. Veilchorus turned back to Elena, fury edged with something unfamiliar. You incite rebellion. We offer shelter, she said. They choose. His voice sharpened. You claim restraint while crippling a civilization. Elena's expression did not change. If we wanted annihilation, you would already be gone. Silence pressed down on the chamber, heavy and undeniable. Veilchorus took a step closer, towering over her. You think this makes you superior? No, Elena said softly. It makes us careful. She leaned in just enough for him to hear her without amplification. When Jakarta burned, your report called it collateral miscalculation. 3 million dead became a footnote. Her eyes hardened. We decided then that no one would ever hold that power over us again. Veilchorus recoiled as if struck. Another aide whispered urgently. High Executor, Central Fleet mobilization is impossible. Navigation keys are rejected. Even emergency overrides. Require compact authorization, Elena said. Which you granted us when you declared war? The realization hit him fully now. Not surprise. Not anger. Fear. You baited us, he said. Elena nodded once. We waited. The hollow field stabilized. Across dozens of systems, Imperial icons dimmed into inert gray, replaced by neutral markers. No cheering followed. No triumphant displays. Just quiet, efficient control. This is containment, Veilchorus said hollowly. Yes, Elena replied. Because conquest teaches nothing. She straightened, reclaiming the space between them. The war you declared has already reached its conclusion. Veilchorus looked around the chamber, at the watching galaxy, at the foundations of his authority unraveling without spectacle. What do you want? He asked. Elena did not answer immediately. She waited for the final confirmation to arrive. Green. Then she spoke. Not submission, she said. Not empire. We want a galaxy where no species is erased for being inconvenient. Her gaze swept the delegates. We will not rule you. But we will not kneel again. The chamber remained silent, absorbing the truth. Humanity had not arrived to conquer. They had arrived to end the game as it had always been played. The Aurelius spire no longer felt like a throne. Its lights had stabilized, but the atmosphere inside the chamber had shifted into something subdued and watchful. Delegates sat straighter now, no longer arranged by fear alone. The hum of imperial authority had faded into a low, uncertain echo, like a storm that had passed without destroying the ground beneath it. High Executor Veilchorus stood at the dais, motionless. His armor still gleamed, his presence still immense, but the weight behind it was gone. Authority depended on inevitability. That illusion had cracked. Reports continued to arrive, quieter now, more precise. Imperial fleets immobilized without a single mass casualty. Command hubs isolated, not destroyed. Client worlds stabilized under neutral oversight. No fires. No screams. Just absence, of control, of dominance. Elena Ward listened without expression. The final confirmations threaded through her systems, each one closing a loop that had been planned years earlier. Humanity's response had unfolded exactly as intended. That did not make it easy to carry. Veilchorus turned to face her. You imposed a ceasefire, he said. It was not an accusation. It was an observation. Yes, Elena replied. You did not request terms. No. The High Executor studied her, his 4 eyes searching for deception, triumph, cruelty. He found none of them. You could have ended us, he said. Elena met his gaze. We could have burned everything, she agreed. That would have been faster. Why didn't you? Because we know what comes after, she said. We've lived through it. The chamber remained silent, the delegates absorbing every word. Some leaned forward. Others seemed to shrink inward, recalibrating entire histories. Vale Korath's voice lowered. You dismantled centuries of order. We dismantled a system that relied on terror, Elena said. Order that cannot survive scrutiny deserves replacement. He turned away from her, looking out across the assembled galaxy. You will destabilize everything. Elena followed his gaze. Change always does. A Therian delegate rose hesitantly. Ambassador Ward, it said, voice trembling between awe and caution. What happens now? Elena turned toward the speaker. No, she said. We talk. A murmur rippled through the chamber, not disbelief this time, but possibility. We propose a new framework, Elena continued. Mutual defense without hierarchy. Transparency without coercion. Compact law enforced by consensus, not threat. Vale Korath laughed once hollow. You expect the galaxy to trust you? No, Elena replied. We expect the galaxy to verify us. She gestured toward the hollow field. Every action we took is documented. Every system freeze reversible. Every safeguard temporary unless ratified. A murmur of approval followed. Delegates exchanged looks, calculations shifting. Vale Korath turned back to her slowly. And the Empire? Elena did not hesitate. You will remain. But not as you were. Silence followed. The Empire may exist as a member, she said. Not a ruler. Your fleets will be monitored. Your authority subject to compact arbitration. Vale Korath's posture stiffened. You would reduce us to equals. Yes. The word carried no malice. Only finality. For a long moment, the High Executor said nothing. Then, quietly, if I refuse? Elena's voice softened, but did not waver. Then we maintain containment. Indefinitely. The implication settled heavily. No threats. No raised voices. Just consequence. Vale Korath looked around the chamber once more. At species who had knelt for generations. At delegates who no longer looked away from him. He inclined his head. The gesture was small. Historic. The Empire, he said, voice measured, will submit to compact review. The chamber exhaled as one. Elena felt the tension she had carried for years finally loosen its grip. Not relief. Something deeper. Resolution. As proceedings shifted into formal ratification, Elena stepped back, letting diplomats and systems take over. Her role was finished. She moved toward the edge of the chamber, where the transparent arc revealed the star beyond, dim, ancient, still burning. A human aide approached quietly. All task groups report green, he said. Elena nodded. Stand down external assets. Keep monitoring internal stability. Yes, Ambassador. She remained where she was, watching the galaxy reassemble itself in real time. A delegate from a species she did not recognize approached hesitantly. Smaller than most. Scarred. You smiled, the alien said. When war was declared. Elena glanced at it. I did. Why? She considered the question. Because that declaration meant we were no longer pretending. The alien studied her. You wanted this. Elena shook her head. We prepared for it. There was a difference. One the galaxy was only beginning to understand. As the session drew to a close, Vale Korath approached her once more, no longer towering, no longer untouchable. You waited until the moment we forced your hand, he said. Yes. Why not act sooner? Elena met his gaze. Because power used prematurely looks like aggression. Power used in response looks like defense. Vale Korath regarded her in silence. You have changed the galaxy. Elena turned back toward the star. We gave it a choice. As she left the chamber, the Aurelius spire continued to orbit in silence, no longer a monument to domination, but a witness to transition. The smile she had worn at the beginning was gone now. It had never been triumph. It had been recognition. It was finally time.